Gambino.
What it do, bruh?
TC, what's good with you, dog?
What's poppin'?
Man, you got it, man. Welcome to Uncensored Wisdom.
We here.
So look, man, me and you ran into each other, man, in the studio. You know what I'm saying? Just passing, and we started working together, and now we here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, man, let us know, like, what got you into doing music? Was this something you did when you was a child, or this just came about over time?
I never thought about doing music. My sophomore year in college, I moved into my first apartment, and one of my roommates was an artist, and he had a studio in the apartment, and they used to make music and stuff like that. So one day I just kind of cracked a joke and was like, let me get on a song. And they was like, yeah. I was really just playing, and they was like, yeah. And they was like, come on, shit. I just had did it. And they actually had loved the song that we made. It was 3 other guys I made a song with, and everybody that was there that day, they loved the song so much. They loved my part so much. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't like it, but they loved it so much, and that's what inspired me to continue to make music. And you know, from it turning to a hobby, it turned into something that I love to do. You know.
What you ain't like about it? Your first song, like, what was wrong with it to you?
I don't know. I wasn't comfortable with how my voice sounded. I wasn't comfortable with hearing myself on a playback. Like, I don't know, it was different, but you know, it was something that they cherished, that they loved. So you know, that was what pushed me and motivated me to keep doing it. They just kept pushing me to do it. It took time before I actually liked what I was doing, like what I was coming up with. You know, it took years. It actually took years for me to become comfortable with my voice and my artistry.
Got you. So it took time for you to get comfortable with it, basically.
Exactly.
Got you. So the guys that you was working with, you still do music with them now?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that relationship like?
Shit, we all brothers, man. We all brothers, yes sir. T Bailey, Chip, DJ Block, you know, the foundation of music for me. You know what I mean? Started out as 59 ENT, and now we SKM.
So basically, you got introduced to making music. You just didn't have it on your mind, is what you saying?
Never in my life.
Damn, that's crazy to be as cold as you is, nigga, and you ain't even had that shit on your mind.
It's a gift that found me, man, that I didn't know I had. The only type of art that I had in me was knowing how to draw. I was born with that gift of just being a natural drawing artist. Other than that, I was not aware of any other artistry that I had, honestly.
Okay, that's understood. So after you started doing music and you really got comfortable with it, what was the next move for you? Like, what did you go into after that?
I took it serious. To be in particular, I had a situation at school that involved the law, and from that particular incident, I knew I had to do something serious in my life. I knew I had to take something serious. I needed to, you know, do something. You know, not just anything, but I needed to take something serious in my life.
Damn, so it was like an epiphany moment for you.
For sure. It was an incident that really made me beat my feet. It put fire under my ass. Yeah, for sure.
Man, that's what's up. Well, I'm glad to see you came out of that situation with music, coming out of that situation with you. You know what I mean? And you discovering that's what you love to do. So in this discovery process of finding out that's what you love to do, what were the ups and downs in the beginning, or somewhere, I guess that's the middle now, of like getting acquainted with making music for full time, you know what I mean?
I would say the ups and downs was really just understanding what it took. I mean, honestly, hindsight, I would say that the ups and downs was just learning the business. I was already business minded. I was very aware and acquainted with doing business and knowing how to do business. So actually learning the business wasn't hard. I would say that was, you know, pretty much the ups and downs, learning the system, the dynamic of music, you know, what it takes, the people you have to meet, the steps that you have to take. But I applied the business knowledge that I already had to music. The most important thing that I focused on was actually developing my craft. I really fell in love with making songs, making music, writing music, and I fell in love with the art. So that was really what was most important to me, was developing myself. I knew, you know, just if you can't, good dope always gonna sell itself. You know what I'm saying? You can't hit the street with no bad dope. You got to be hell of a salesman to do that, which I was, but I needed the best dope anyways.
Right. So when you say that, I'm thinking about the music business now. Like, a lot of people say the music business is grimy, the business part of it. And looking at it for what it is, understanding business yourself, do you think that the music industry business is a little grimy, basically, like how everybody, you know, framing it, in comparison to, you know, any other type of business?
In a sense, it is. I think, well, I would say all business is grimy. Actually, you know, it's a shark eat shark world. You know what I'm saying? In any type of business. So even if you don't view it like that, you still can get ate. So that's just what it is. I approach anything like that.
Sharks in the water.
For sure.
Understood. Okay, so where are you at this time though? In your like location wise, when you doing this?
Where and that's like specific time of like in the beginning of the journey.
Right. Yeah.
I'm in Troy, Alabama.
Okay.
Troy, Alabama. It's a small city, a little bit south of Montgomery, Alabama.
And this where you grew up at?
No, that's where I went to school at. I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. That's North Alabama. But I went to school. I went to college in South Alabama. So that whole, what we would call the Wiregrass area. You know what I'm saying? Montgomery, Dothan, Pike County. You know what I'm saying? That's the county that Troy is in. So I was in that whole little area, Montgomery, Union Springs, Tuskegee, Dothan, Alabama, all the way down south. You know, I moved through Mobile. I pretty much ran Alabama all the way top to bottom.
Okay. So, Southern baby, you in the South.
For sure.
All across the board. So, as far as I know, we've had a conversation. You said you was in Atlanta too, like later on.
Exactly.
Right. So
that was my next move.
Okay.
After I left Alabama.
Okay. So let me not fast forward. We on Alabama. What got you to leave Alabama, and how much went on with your music in Alabama before you left?
A lot went on with my music. I released my first project. I released a demo, and my first actual project that came out in 2015. That was anything like 2015, and the music that I released like a little bit before that, leading up to that, was, you know, pretty much my time in Alabama. Well, I would say, yeah, exactly, that's right. I would say that would be the Alabama time period. Anything after that, not anything after that, the projects that came out after that, the next few projects that came out all the way up until, I would say the one where, you know, music that was created pretty much in Georgia and some in Alabama. But, you know, after my first project, I pretty much moved. To answer that question in terms of what inspired the move, there was another situation that happened that inspired me to leave Alabama. I knew if I wanted to continue to do music, I had to leave Alabama. You know, I had essentially came to a crossroads with life, and I was, you know, not just lost, I just was very uncertain about what I was doing and where I was going. And I knew if I wanted to continue doing what I was doing, I needed to leave my surroundings. I needed to switch my environment.
Understood. And before I ask this question, you said you need to switch your environment. What was the population where you was at?
I would say around that time, it was possibly like 150,000 people, maybe 100 to 150,000.
So you was definitely looking to go somewhere that had more people.
For sure. Now these guys that was... But I honestly wasn't thinking about it on a population standpoint. It was more of just an environmental standpoint, the energy, the vibe. You know, it was time for something new. I needed to expand.
You felt like at that point you had kind of outgrew the situation.
Exactly.
Understood, especially with your artistry for the
sure.
most part. The guys that were with you, did they come with you when you went to Atlanta?
No, I left. I was by myself. Yeah, for sure.
Understood.
Yeah.
And that was the only catalyst that had you leave. The only thing that made you leave was like, hey, I want to go in a bigger city and see what it do.
Yeah, it was an actual situation that happened, in a family situation I don't want to speak about, but yeah, that was what inspired the move. Yeah.
Okay, so you get to Atlanta. You know somebody in Atlanta before you go, or you just show up in Atlanta like, shit, I'm here, nigga?
Look, both. Yeah, both. I got family in Atlanta. So I did have, support. I did have support for sure. So it wasn't easy, just figuring out which way I wanted to go. Growing my network. I did have a quite bit of a team out there already, because two of the guys that I started with in terms of music, that was a part of 59 with me, they're both from Atlanta, the other one, he was born in Montgomery, but he grew up in Georgia. He grew up in Columbus, Georgia. So most of the guys that I started making music with, they're from Georgia. They got ties to Georgia, so the roots of my music is tied between Alabama and Georgia,
Okay.
So eventually, two of the guys that I did start making music with, they did come back to Atlanta. Not exactly when I did, but they did come back to Atlanta, and we did, do work together and, push the movement there.
Okay. And as we established, you was in the South, and I didn't get to ask you this because you said that you didn't really have aspirations to be a rapper. So, but didn't any rappers like influence you, even though you didn't have aspirations to be a rapper?
Yeah, I was really influenced by everything that I used to listen to. Everything I grew up listening to, I was inspired by everybody. Yeah, I really was. I listened to a lot of different music. I was deeply inspired by everything, man. From traditional African music, trap music, hip hop, everything, rap, pop, reggae, everything. I'm a boiling pot of it all, being that I'm an original Nigerian that was born in Alabama.
That's a hell of a combination.
So I was inspired by it all.
That's a hell of a combination.
But I would say in the beginning, I definitely was inspired by a lot of the music that was coming out of Alabama. A lot of the music that was coming out of Alabama. A lot of the music that was coming out of Georgia. It played a big impact on what the foundation of what my music sounded like, the beats. I used to practice on a lot of different beats, but that sound is what got to me faster and quicker. Like I said, being that the guys that were around me, were all from Georgia.
Understood. So let's roll back into Georgia when you were in Atlanta. So how many years did you spend in Atlanta?
5.
5 years. And throughout this 5 years, what would you say are the major networking and the accomplishments that you look at as like, okay, these were good things to go through and lessons to learn from and information to gain? What were those things in Atlanta for you?
I would say networking. Most importantly, networking. Understanding the system, understanding the music ecosystem. I was in Atlanta during a time where Atlanta was the mecca of music. Not to say it's not anymore, but I was there during the time that it was that boiling pot. It was making its name for what it was, or it was already at the pinnacle of its time in terms of music wise. So a lot of people came, so I brushed shoulders with a lot of people. I met a lot of people, you know. To speak about like what I learned, I guess, you know, that's really just the most important thing I learned, just how to build my network. You know, I learned how to build my team, you know. I can say that.
No, I can see that. I can see that you got team building down pat. You know what I'm saying? You know how to identify, from what I've seen, you know how to identify people that are very useful and, you know what I mean, put them in positions that they can use themselves as far as their talents and their mind to prosper and help the whole team prosper. So yeah, you good at utilizing people for what they good for.
For sure.
For lack of better terms. I guess I could say that better, but you know what I mean.
Exactly.
So you spent 5 years in Atlanta. You network. How do you feel about your music at this time though? Like your growth as an artist, what are you feeling about your Atlanta time when it comes to the music you've been producing?
I was definitely developing. When I first got there, I still had so much room to grow in artistically, which I still do now. But at that time, I wasn't so comfortable with what I was creating as much as I wanted to, you know. So I was really in a deep recording process. I was really in a really deep recording process and just searching for my sound, understanding myself, understanding who I was becoming, you know. Musically, I was working with a lot of my producers that are from Atlanta. I was working with a various amount of producers, you know, just searching for that sonic that's suitable to my ears, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
I've had the luxury to be able to see you work in the studio.
For sure.
Not everybody can say that, right? You have a unique way of recording. I never, you know what I'm saying, disclose how you do it. But my question for you is, had you always been recording that way, or you got to a place where you changed everything about yourself from the Atlanta you to the version of you now?
I developed that way that I do it now over time. Mm-hmm. While I was in Atlanta, when I first got there, I was still writing music a little bit. I could say I started actually practicing, not really just practicing. I started freestyling more, I would say 2016. That's when I started to freestyle more. I always was freestyling though. I always freestyled, I always practiced it. So me and my guys, you know, when we was back in Troy, Alabama, like even from my first days of doing music, you know, we all wrote songs. We wrote music all the time. But, you know, we challenged ourselves. We had plenty of days where we just pull up a beat and nobody's gonna write anything. Just freestyle. Just one take it, freestyle the whole verse. You know what I mean? Whatever you gotta do, we're gonna get it done, we're gonna leave it as is, you know, and we practice like that. So, you know, comparing it to something like basketball, it's like, okay, yeah, everybody can dunk, but now we finna just have a day where we work on our trick dunks. We're gonna work on our windmills. Everybody work on their windmills, or everybody work on their between the leg dunks, or our behind the back dunks, or our 360 dunks. You know what I mean? So that was something that we all did, you know, and we all challenged ourselves to develop each other and push ourselves to be better.
Understood.
So to answer your question, and you know, when I got to Atlanta, I was still writing. I was writing sometimes I was freestyling. So I've never had a specific way that I wanted to do it, or a way that I had to do it. It's just the song has to be completed, and it has to be the best song that it could be.
Understood.
But I essentially dropped the pen. I would say 2019. No, 20. I would say maybe like I would say around maybe like 2018, 19, and 20. Around that time, I was writing. I would write a couple songs a year. I would say maybe like 2019. I probably like. No, 2020. The last time I wrote a song was 2020, January of 2020. I just got back from Africa. I wrote one song. I recorded it. I don't know. I can't remember what the song is. I don't even remember if I like it or not. But yeah, that was the last song I recorded. I never wrote a song. Not the last song I recorded, but that was the last song that I wrote. I've never wrote a song ever since. My process just completely changed. And it essentially wasn't what it is now, but I was building to that already. So, you know, during that time and prior, I was doing everything, you know, writing, recording in every which way I could, you know. Sometimes I would make the song myself. I didn't have an engineer. More times I had an engineer. I was still writing all the time, you know. I wrote songs every day for years, bro. Yeah, I wrote songs every day for at least like 7 years.
Man, that's something you tell somebody who just want to start today.
Right. I do tell artists. I do tell my artists that, you know, because, you know, they come in and they freestyle and, you know, it's exciting and until they meet what they call writer's block that I don't even believe in, but I don't even see that as true. And I tell them, like, you know, write, practice. You don't have to always record, but perfect your craft. It don't matter what it is. It don't matter if it's 8 lines. Write every day. You'll be better. You're gonna get better.
Let me dive into what you just said, because I heard something online not too long ago, and I have my own opinions about it from an artist standpoint, but I want to hear what you have to say.
For sure.
Now, I think it was Wiz Khalifa. I think he said this. He says he never has writer's block because, in his words, his life is too dope. Every time he jump in the studio, he just talk about what happened that day. It's always something on his mind.
For sure.
So, what's your philosophy on why writer's block don't even exist?
I don't know. I don't acknowledge it.
You don't get that
It's not
entity
true
life.
to me. It's not true to me.
Right. Understood. So you do this stint in Atlanta. You put out some projects.
Yeah, for sure. What projects got released in Atlanta? I got a couple, bro. Sometimes it's hard.
You got a lot.
Me and my bro Hot Rod, we dropped a CD called Brothers in Arms. Right when I first got there. That CD was recorded in Alabama though. Some of it might have been recorded in Atlanta, but most of that was recorded in Alabama. That got dropped when I first got there. When I first got to Atlanta, I was on the road a lot. You know, I really wasn't there a lot, but I was on the road. Like, you know, I was everywhere, bro. I was in Miami. I was in Africa a lot. I was in London. I was a lot of different places. LA, I was all over, bro. Brothers in Arms with Hot Rod. I also released Bloodshed, was released there while I was there. No Remorse was released while I was there. LLHR was released while I was there, so it's probably like 4 projects. Love and Loyalty was released while I was there. 256 was released while I was there. The One was released while I was there. So I would say that's probably like 7 projects.
Put out more projects than how long you was in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's like 7 projects. So yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. So what got you to leave Atlanta?
Man, it was probably it's you know what's crazy? My moves are always inspired by life. They're always, you know, I'm always nudged to move. It's something that pushes me to move. Another incident happened, you know, and yeah, I knew it was time to go. The crazy thing is I came here to meet with some label reps that kind of pushed me through the city, you know, for a week. You know, networked me through Houston. You know, I came here, recorded some music, shot some videos, and it was a great experience, man. I got back to Atlanta, and I think I got back to Atlanta maybe on a Wednesday night. Incident happened Thursday. I ended up back in Houston on Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Just me and I put all my belongings in a storage, and I was back here on Sunday. That Saturday, I put everything in the storage. Friday, I think it was either Friday or Saturday. I put everything in the storage, and I was back in Houston on Sunday night.
Damn.
Yes, sir.
Damn.
Just me and a suitcase, probably had like 4 boxes and 4 pairs of boxes, couple pair of pants, t-shirts, man. I was here.
And so when you got here, what was the mindset just coming here? You drove here, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
So you driving, you thinking I'm going to Houston, what I'm about to do when I'm in Houston. You had a plan, or you just left?
Just left.
And so you didn't know once you got here what you was gonna do?
Nah, Spirit led me here, bro. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Understood.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. As soon as I got here, man, I pulled straight up to a Drake event. Yeah. But
And
I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't
have a clue?
No, I didn't really know. But you know, I'm very faithful, man. You know, I'm very faithful, knowledgeable. I'm stern. I know. I stand on, you know, intuitive movements. You know, I don't second guess it.
Understood. You follow the energy. You follow the universe, right?
For sure.
I got you. Okay, so you're in Houston now. So present day TC Gambino, what's the mindset? Where you at with it right now? When it comes to making music and putting yourself out there.
The mindset is really just, it's hyper focused, high energy, health conscious. It's high vibrational. It's intense, man. It's exciting. You know, fun, fulfilled, joyful, blissful, man. I could go on and on.
I can see, man, because talking about the old music versus talking about how you were at today, your face lit up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
just even revisiting those times, like, you know, I gotta tap into how I felt, you know.
Understood.
Grateful though.
Gotta be grateful.
Yeah, grateful.
Okay, so had you had any hardships in Houston? I see the smile, but has anything happened while you were here to kind of reset your mind to a degree?
For sure. Had a couple. I would say I probably had one of my biggest life-changing incidents to date. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say. Yeah, I guess I could say, because how much I changed based off of what happened. Yeah, this probably was one of my biggest up to date. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I broke my leg May 30th, 2023. That was probably one of the biggest life-changing events that had happened to me. Yeah.
Damn, you broke your leg? I mean, Can you disclose how that happened?
Yeah, I was rehearsing for a show. Yeah, I was rehearsing for a show. Mm-hmm.
So, obviously you didn't do that show, but you got hurt rehearsing.
Yeah.
And how long was this recovery? Like, so the recovery is what changed you? Or what about breaking your leg? Because people break their leg, but it's not always a life-changing situation. They heal and they come back. So what was it about your leg that really changed everything for you?
I can honestly say, I won't even just say it was that incident. You know, there are small incidents that led up to that. So, I would say like October of 2022, initially, Um, I I started studying health. I started studying nutrients. Just I had got into nutrients. I got into minerals, and I just started building this document of information, and so from October to November, I would say not October to November, but from October 22 to February 23, I acquired a good amount of information. But February 2023, I ate some bad chicken from churches, and it gave me a throat infection.
Dang.
So it it made my throat swell. It swelled my throat closed, so I couldn't eat. I barely could talk for like 3 days, and yeah. So after that, I made the conscious decision to never eat chicken again. After that, I took upon a pescatarian diet. I was primarily eating fish. So that incident right there inspired me to live a bit of a more structured life. It made me live a little bit more of a structured lifestyle. So I got into things like cooking more. I always knew how to cook, but I got into things like cooking more, meal prepping, diet planning, tracking calories, things like that, understanding certain things about the food. And I think during that time, I one of the first things I did after I was meal prepping and still studying and acquiring information was I had a thing called a fruit a day. I just needed to eat a fruit a day. So that was what I was following. I wasn't all the way perfect with that, but I was meal prepping. I was making both meals a day, both meals for the day. I would meal prep. I'd make my food for 4 or 5 days, stored in the refrigerator, and I'd pretty much eat that same thing every day, and just structuring something in my life outside of my career. And I was doing that. It was pretty cool. I stayed away from chicken and stuff like that, but by the time May came, when I broke my leg, or if I could just even go back a little bit further, like I was beginning a health journey that I little did I even know, and I was submerged in the information, still just gaining knowledge, still following the diet that I had curated for myself. And there were even times where I would just like eat vegetables, and I would just eat vegetables and fruit. Sometimes I would, sometimes I was doing a little bit more of a fasting. I was incorporating a little bit. Sometimes I would fast. I would just eat like spinach and stuff like that. I might just eat oranges, but I was still dabbling in like eating a fish sandwich from a restaurant, or eating some French fries. If I didn't have anything to eat, or if I didn't bring my food that I made at the house or something like that, But by the time May hit, when I broke my leg, I had a talk with one of my bros, that I started music with. Shout out to Chip Reeves, man. And I had a talk with him after I broke my leg, and he was the one that pretty much inspired me to go 3 weeks on all fruits and vegetables. And he basically told me, he's an ex-NFL player. He was in the NFL. He was one of the bros that I started this music thing with, and that was pretty much his path. He went on to the NFL. I kept pursuing music, so fast forward to today, fast forward to that time period. when we spoke about the situation, you know, that's what he said, because that was something that he was already actively doing, practicing a vegan diet. And like I said, he inspired me. He said, he challenged me too. He said, you should do this for your first 3 weeks while you here, you know. And he pretty much told me, he gave me some pointers on what to do. You know, being that he's an athlete, you know, most athletes have been through injuries and, you know, understand the dynamic of recovery and the things that you got to do. So that was one thing that he told me in terms of the diet, and I did it. You know, I ate raw fruits and vegetables for 3 weeks. And at this time, you know, not really fully understanding what has happened to me. And, you know, I'm on crutches, I'm at the house, you know, I'm in a new city. I don't really have that much, I don't have that much support. I don't have, you know, friends. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got that many, you know, partners. All my people in Alabama or Georgia, they, you know, miles away or wherever they at, you know, more than almost a half a day or a day away. You know, I was in that space to where it was just me. It was just me, that voice in my head, and the creator. So, you know, I took that time. I took that time and that information to rebuild my life. I took that time to become who I am today, to transition, to transform, to awaken myself. I submerged myself in that information that I was studying. I embedded my mind in it, and I told myself while I was going through it, I was like, you know what? When I come out of this, I'm not gonna be the same person. I'm not gonna be the same person once I heal. When I come back, you ain't even gonna be able to recognize me. I vowed to come back a different person. I was locked in on a message, not just about what had happened to me. So I realized the path or the direction that I was already going into prior to that situation happening, and I stuck to it. So, like I said, the 3 weeks, after the 3 weeks, you know, I started trying to introduce certain things back into my diet, you know. Definitely wasn't going back to meat or anything, but I started to introduce certain things back into my diet, and my body rejected it, you know. So there were certain things that I realized I couldn't eat, I couldn't consume, but it was still like an exploration time. It was an exploration period for me. So I was doing just that. There were certain things I was trying, certain foods, certain types of dishes that I would eat, and I just wanted to see how my body would respond to it, you know. So yeah, that was, you know, one of the biggest, you know, things that happened. And I wouldn't even say it was a downfall. It was pretty much the biggest blessing that ever happened to me, because it made me who I am right now.
Understood. So about the diet, since you broke that down, what did you feel like was changing as you were changing your diet, about yourself physically, and even like mentally? What was changing about you throughout that process, if you could see it at that moment?
I honestly couldn't see it in that moment. I wanted to heal so bad, so I taught myself and I learned almost everything there was to learn about healing. Externally, internally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Every which of way of healing. I locked my mind and my body into it. I locked every piece of me into doing just that, because I wanted to heal. I didn't accept. I was not accepting going on stage and on crutches, or, you know, not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not what I was accepting.
That wasn't your path. You
That's
wasn't
not,
gonna allow that.
That wasn't for me. You know, I wasn't gonna accept hopping around the house. I was not accepting. You know, it took a while for me to even allow people to help me, you know, because I'm so used to doing everything myself. You know, that was one lesson that it taught me. It really taught me how to ask for help and how to let people help me, you know. Maybe who knows where I'd be if I had that attribute earlier, but not to say nobody has helped me, but I developed, you know, that humble side of me to be able to ask for help when needed.
Understood. So you got a lot out of that. That wasn't just so simple as saying you broke your leg and you healed from it. You went through a true transformation.
Exactly.
So did the music change also?
Exactly. It did.
In what way?
I really don't know. I couldn't really explain it. I after that situation, I was just a completely different person. The first song that I recorded, it sounded like something I've never done before. I had never heard myself make a song like that. I never forget that song. I never forget that day. My brother Lil Deals was recording me. I was still on crutches at that time. You know, at the end of the day, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't want to like record because I just, you know, kind of wasn't feeling it. I was in a rage, man. I can't really explain or express how I felt. You know, it really can just be felt in the music that I was making around that time. But I didn't really understand what I was doing or what was happening, you know. But when I look back and I listen, like there was a point in time where I realized, I'm like, wow, I'm like, damn, this music, all right, I sound different. I sound different, I rap different now. You know, and I just realized like that was a huge turning point. That was a huge turning point for me, you know. So I'm not saying I can't do what I used to do. I think anybody can do what they used to do, you know. But it's just not me anymore.
Okay, that's understood. You know, you can look back, but going forward is a different journey. Basically, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
You can always go be the old you, but you the new you.
Exactly.
So is it safe to say that you a vegan?
I don't really call it that. I say that so I don't have to really explain. But I mean, I guess you could say I'm plant-based alkaline, you know. But I don't consider myself that. I consider myself healthy because healthy is different. Healthy is, you know, everybody classifies healthy in a different way. It's not really just only diet. So that's rightfully what I would say, you know.
Understood. So diet switched up. The music
my mind switched. Everything switched. Yeah, my mind switched. Everything switched, bro. I don't look the same. When I look back at what I was, even when I was, you know, following the pescatarian diet, there's a picture that I took with my aunt, my auntie Wakego. She passed away last year from cancer, but there was a picture that I took with her, and it's funny because before she passed away, she was here in Houston receiving chemotherapy for her cancer, and I didn't know it was that bad. But I ended up going to see her with my mom and my mom's sister. My mom had flew out here. I took her and her sister out there to see my aunt on my pop side. As I'm talking to her, and I'm talking to her about the diet, talking to her about my transformation, I'm talking to her about this information that I've came into in my way of life now, and I presented her a meal plan, a healing plan for her to take back to Africa with her. And as I'm talking to her, I show her this picture that we took, you know. At that time, it might have been a year old. I show her the picture, and she's looking at me now. I'm like, look at how I looked at that time. I still weigh the same amount, but what I've done with the body weight and the structure of my features have changed. Yeah, I look different. You know, my facial structure is very much different than, you know, what it was before my diet switch.
And in saying that, like, your family definitely can see the difference in you. I mean, what has been the feedback from it?
It's been mixed. I haven't really seen all of my family. I've seen my mom, saw my brother, saw one of my sisters. It's been different, you know. They don't follow the same type of diet that I have. But the feedback has been mixed, you know. My perspective on food and life is a tad bit different. The connection that I have with health, or the connection that I have with the earth is different than most. So I explain, or I talk to them from that aspect, and I teach them from that aspect, and I have a pretty decent book full of information that I've gathered and noted and jotted, and I share this book with them. I actually was sharing this book with my mom when she came. You know, my mom has dealt with different types of things on her own, you know, and you know, I developed these meal plans for them. You know, these plant-based meal plans for them to, you know, reverse these things that she's dealing with, anything that she may have dealt with, you know, just not to make her so dependent on medicine, not to make her so dependent on a doctor, not to make her so dependent on narcotics, you know, and letting food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food.
Right, as it should be. I get it. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was talking to my mom. I'm sorry to cut you. I was talking to my mom one time, and I was reading out of my book. Bro. She falling asleep. I'm like, Mama, I'm like, you falling asleep, and I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm tired. I'm like, listen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's serious. You know, it was funny, but yeah, she was tired. She just got off the airplane, more all that kind of stuff. But I was serious. She was only here for a day, so I was like, I crammed her with that information. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, my family hadn't been able to see me since the transition, so they haven't really been able to really soak in, you know, where I'm at right now. You know, it's just something that I correlate and talk to them about. You know, they've only got to be here and see that one day. You know what I'm saying? Literally one day. My sister, when she came, it was one day. You know what I'm saying? So the people that have seen me within these recent times, they know me, you know, more. They know the who I am now and where I'm at now better than my family. So I didn't really get that big of a response from them like that. You feel me? They, you know, most people, you know how most people are. They kind of defensive about what they do and what they practice and how they live their life. But it's normal. I ain't blaming nobody. I'm just, you know, nobody can say I'm telling them anything that's gonna hurt them. You know.
Understood. And
but I did have a deep talk with my mom that day though, and yeah, I did have a deep talk with my mom that day, and it was different. I had never had that type of conversation with her before.
It was. And I don't mean to get too deep into your personal, but was it about life, or just about the health, or both? Both.
Yeah, it was both. There was some things I heard my mom say I never heard her say, but I knew from that conversation, you know, out of everything, out of my whole life, I knew she was proud of me. Yeah, I knew she was proud of me that day, for sure, from that conversation right there. For sure.
You feel like the change when it comes to the health and the food, and of course your mindset followed, or really your mindset probably went first and then everything else followed it. But you're on the inside looking out. You think that the people who have been around you your whole life, when they do talk to you, even though it hasn't been that much, they can see those changes immediately? Or it's like you take a conversation and start seeping into their mind, like, oh, TC kind of a different person now.
Everybody that I talk to, they can see it. They can see it on my face. Even if I don't see them in person, they see it. And obviously they hear it in my conversation and the things that I'm talking about and the things that I'm into. So it was a lot of things that I left behind during that period, during my transition, that I don't do anymore. So there's a lot of people that, you know, I lost favorable habits, favorable things that we did together, you know, that I don't do anymore. So, you know, not to say the relationship is dead, but it's almost not there because the things that we shared, I don't do anymore. So a lot of people can tell that difference. Even if I don't speak about it, they see it on me. I don't know exactly what they see. I don't know if it's my skin or the way I talk or what I'm talking. Obviously, if it's what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? But most people do say that they can see it.
When you was going through this journey, do you ever feel like it was a time that you were kind of pushing your ideas on other people? And it wasn't that you were intentionally doing it. It's just your passion for it kind of felt like you were pushing that on people?
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced that?
I've never actually tried to push that on anybody. I think the way that some people resist it makes me feel like that. Yeah, so I've never really tried to, you know, push that on anybody or, you know, make them see things from my point of view. But I've just told them truth, you know, and that's just what I've told them. So some people take it like that, but it's not what I'm doing. It's like, I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just giving you information that you might not have knew, that you might have knew or not. Or you might have been dealing with this or that, this type of illness or this type of situation. And I can tell you what it's stemming from. And I can tell you how to reverse that or how to cure that or how to help yourself or relieve yourself from that. I'm not a doctor though.
Right. Well, we can get into that because doctors, sure, they just prescribe medicine to a degree.
For sure.
But okay, before we just jump off the health, how do you see the current state of health in America as is? Because what we're talking about is trying to put people on to different things to eat and different things to do. But where would you say the health consciousness is at in America right now from your perspective?
We are definitely in a more knowledgeable place than we were or than we used to be, but not, you know, where we should be. But I couldn't even say where we should be, but where we could be. So I think now I think the world is stepping more into awareness of health and awareness of what health truly is, you know?
Yeah, because you're talking about reversing things.
Yeah, for sure.
And medicine don't do that. Medicine just basically hides the problem.
Yeah, it's a suppressant.
Right. And I truly believe if more people were aware to that, they have a bigger ear towards the healing instead of, you know, the medicine. Well,
for sure.
Healing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
What are the differences that you see in yourself? Not the outside world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What is it that you can see?
Just overall? From diet change or just transitional wise?
The diet change is a part of it, but
yeah,
like
you're
a totally different person all the way around. So it's like, what do you see the major differences are from the old TC to the new TC? If you had to put it in words.
Major differences, man. I feel like every difference is major. There's not even like the small things are major. Mm-hmm. So if I said the way I organize my thoughts now, like that's a small thing, but it's really major though. You understand what I'm saying? I organize my thoughts in a different way. I have control over my thoughts in a different way now than what I used to. So essentially, I rewired myself. So I feel better. That's a small thing, and I have more control of my feelings now. You understand? I'm aware and more in touch with myself now. I know myself much more than I used to now. You know, I identify what is inspiring that feeling. Why do you feel like that? Is it a good feeling? Is it a bad feeling? I have power over that. It doesn't have power over me, and I don't make decisions based off of that.
Understood.
Those are just examples of small things, you know.
Small things that have big impact.
Exactly.
I get it. Man, TC on fire, y'all. His phone blowing.
Yeah, man, my bad, man.
No,
Trap
you
don't never sleep, man. My bad.
Already.
I apologize, man.
No, you super good. So, now we said, and we've talked about how it has affected the music, and the music has changed. Inside of the music, has the subject matter changed, or has, and I'm pretty sure it did if you say you had a mindset shift, but subject matter and sonically, what did it do to be so much different from what it was before?
It was the energy. My energy changed. So hindsight, looking at the shift in my energy, that reflected in every other area of my life, but particularly in the music, that feeling, everything that I was going through spilled right over into my music. That emotion spilled over, and it cut in a different way that I couldn't really understand at that time. I was just being my raw and authentic self at that time. Every emotion that I was feeling, every piece of pain that I was going through, it's like in my voice, it's in the feeling, it's in the emotions. You can hear it, you can feel it. It won't be denied.
Understood. Did you feel like you went through, and I mean, I'm pretty sure you had to go through a moment of solitude to get to this place? Did you feel lonely when you were in Houston, when you first got here and you were finding your way and going through these transitions?
For sure. Very. Very.
How you deal with loneliness?
Got in touch. I was in touch with myself. I was in touch with the higher power.
Understood. The source.
For sure.
The source.
I connected with the source that's connected to me. The part of the source that's connected to me. The source of all.
Now you and the source working together like that, y'all tied together. What is you and the source been producing lately?
Everything. Who you see and what you see now.
Okay.
Self-knowledge mastery. That's who I am. That's who we are. It wasn't that, but we evolved into that. We were street kings. It was the street king movie. It was still Count Money, and we still are that. We're self-knowledge mastery now.
You just flipped the acronym.
This is what we evolved into. This is what it's about now, discovering self. And that's what that whole period was. I will forever be discovering self. This is what life is about. To stay in touch with self, learn self. All is one, one is all.
Understood. So if you had to look at the landscape, where does TC Gambino gonna fall at when everybody's screaming your name? Where are you gonna fall at with all the rest of the rappers? Or are you nothing like the rest of the rappers? Like what makes you stand apart?
Everything about me. I'm nothing like any of them. Not even a rapper. I just know how. Definitely an artist.
So you ready to come and take the throne?
I'm here.
Yeah. Understood. So what you got coming out now? What's the newest project? What you got coming?
Two-Headed Dragon. Yes, sir. Me and Twan go crazy.
And what's the Two-Headed Dragon?
For sure.
I gotta ask you right now, what does that mean?
It symbolizes collaboration. It symbolizes two people coming together to accomplish something. multiple people, multiples coming together to accomplish one thing.
And as you and Twan go crazy.
Yes.
What's you guys' relationship look like? How far does that go back?
2019.
Okay.
Yeah, 2019. Yes, sir. I met him through one of my other producers. His other artist, Twan is his cousin. So that's how I was connected to him. And we just pretty much connected. You know, this was in Atlanta when I was still in Atlanta. We pretty much connected. The first song we did was Magic, and we never stopped working from then. So essentially, it took 5-6 years to create what we're putting out now, you know. But we have numerous and countless amount of records that are out together.
So this album is just you and Twan go crazy.
For
he
sure.
Produced the beats, you rapped on them.
Exactly.
Got you. And what are the listeners? What can they look forward to sonically when they hear this? Like, where do you listen to this album at? What time of year do you, what kind of album is this?
This definitely is like summertime. This definitely is high energy, high intensity, you know. Yeah.
So it's some turn up joints on there.
Nah, it's turned up. It's turned up. It's a lot of energy. It's high energy. It's high speed music.
Does that reflect on y'all personality? Y'all both turned, or is it just that's what it was?
That was the energy. That was the vibe. Yeah, I pretty much let him put this album together, so that's what he was feeling. We recorded hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs, man, and you know, those were the songs that he wanted. I had a couple on there that I wanted to be on there, but I let him pick the rest of them.
Understood. Okay. I'm looking forward to that dropping. For sure. I can't think of the name of it. I got a favorite song off of that thing already. It's the one. The GOAT. What's that?
I'm Not Human.
I'm Not Human. Yeah, that's my favorite. I already got the
I
sneak
love
peek
that
now.
record. For sure. I love that record.
Yeah, because specifically you say in there you don't eat goat no more.
Yeah, I used to eat goat, man. That's a prominent Nigerian staple in our dishes, man.
Yeah.
Shit is good, shit. I ate it so much I became one.
Right. Man, look at that. Putting metaphors together while you sitting in the interview. Y'all don't feel it.
I don't gotta eat it no more.
Yeah. Understood.
Nah, for sure.
Okay. So there's not a release date for that right now. We just got people hanging in the air at the moment,
on the
right?
way, for sure.
Okay. What is it that you feel like the game is missing right now that you can bring to it?
Unity, bro.
You feel like that's missing, or you feel like you just bringing more unity or a way that nobody ever seen it before?
For sure.
Got you. Well, I say this, you know, it takes a lot of discipline in order to make those type of leaps and bounds with your lifestyle. And me knowing you and meeting you over this period of time that I've been around you, you make it look effortless. And I just want to give you your flowers on that while we here. Your discipline comes across as very effortless. And, you know, I don't want to say robotic, but I'm saying robotic in the way that seems like it's a factory, it's a machine. It's just second nature for you.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So I just want to give you your flowers on that aspect.
Much love. Appreciate it, bro.
No, you're more than welcome, bro. Last but not least, before we get up out of here, what can you tell somebody who wants to walk in your shoes and do what you do? What could you tell them in order to get them on that path if they're trying to figure out, man, how the hell do I become a rapper? How do I get to the place where I'm putting out albums like TC Gambino? What do I gotta do?
You gotta love it first.
Speak on it.
You gotta love it first. You gotta fall in love with what you do. What is the purpose that you're doing it for? You identify that. You know?
Good message, because that's the truth. I guess you just saying they gotta have some type of purpose because they just doing it for no reason. What you doing it for?
Yeah. You know, that reason, whatever that reason that you're doing it for, could be the reason that, you know, sends you to your grave, or, you know, that destroys your life, or that, you know, obviously we all gonna make it there anyways, but, you know, what's the purpose behind it? You know, that's gonna determine why you do it and how you do it and what you're willing to do to achieve it, you know.
Understood.
And if it's a great reason, you know, then nobody has to get hurt in the process. You don't have to hurt yourself in the process either.
One more thing though, because I know we had a conversation prior to this interview, and it was a while back actually. It had got a little heated, but not in a bad way. It was another person involved, and I just wanted to get your perspective on this before you do get out of here, because I feel like you have a genuine perspective.
For sure.
And you know, you have a lot of people in the media now. You have people like Charleston White, and this is a great example for this, because he feels like, you know, rappers are putting negative thoughts and imagery and overall just the music has negative implications that affect children. And you had an outlook that you have about it, and I was wondering if you want to share that with the fans or the people that's watching right now, the viewers.
I do remember that conversation. What I can say about that honestly is just there's a way that you do things. There's a way that you can do things, right? So intent is different from how you do things, right? So the results you get are not just only on the intent, but the world reacts off of how you do it. So I can see someone's intent, right? And we might have the same intent, but we'll go about that two different ways. If that makes sense, right?
Right.
So that's just pretty much what I can say about it. So, you know, no matter who it is or what anybody else is doing, you know, I don't know what anybody's intent is. I can't speak on anybody that I don't know personally, right? But if this specific thing was his intent, or if this specific thing is this person's intent, I have my way that I would do it, you know, and this person has their way that they would do it. You know what I'm saying? More than likely, they're probably gonna be two different results, you know. So, and particularly when we're speaking on, you know, pointing the fingers at anybody for what's going on in the community, you know, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody when it comes to what's going on in the community. I'm looking in the mirror.
The change starts with the person that's speaking.
You understood?
You gotta be the example.
You know, so I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm taking a look in the mirror and what about myself am I gonna change that's gonna be the best reflection on the community, that's gonna affect the community in the best way possible, you know? Yeah, maybe I could speak, or maybe it's meant for other people to speak or to say certain things, right? I guess everybody does have a voice. I don't use my voice to just talk or just to point fingers or just to assassinate anybody with my words, you know? Everybody got their own agendas. Everybody does things a different way. I don't judge nobody for, you know, accomplishing whatever they're trying to accomplish in whatever way they choose to do it. I just would do it a different way. Lead by example. Be the example that you want to see.
Right. And I do remember us all specifically saying in that conversation that the parents particularly are responsible
for the children. For sure. So we can't, you know, why are we blaming anybody else that's outside of the household for how our children turn out? If not our children when they get of age to be able to make decisions on their own. But we know where it starts at root. Environment, cool, yeah, you know what I'm saying? But we what fingers are you pointing? Point
Right.
the finger at your parents. So in that aspect, you know, I'm not blaming anybody outside of my house for whatever my child has done. I don't have kids yet, but I'm not blaming anybody outside of my house for what my child has done. Essentially, that's my fault.
Yeah, you got to be accountable for that as a parent. That just goes without saying.
So whatever's going on in the community, there's nobody to blame for that. There's nobody else to blame outside of the household for that. We gotta raise our kids.
This is true. This is very true. And if the parents aren't setting that type of example, and your kids have the ability to get wind of a song that's gonna lead them astray, then I don't know. Because I don't think I took music in a way where it was real life when I was a kid. Personally, I don't think I did. But
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows about other kids? But at the end of the day, it is the parents' responsibility. So I get it. I get it. Man, appreciate you coming on Uncensored Wisdom, man. It was a good one. We're going to look forward to that two-headed dragon.
Man, I appreciate you having me, man. That's how the thing hit the streets, man. It's on the way sooner than later.
Already, man. You know we're going to do it again. Next time, we're going to talk about some current events.
Nah, for sure. We can do that.
You know what I mean? Because I know you got
anything
some
I'm open to
perspectives.
speak about, man, I chop it up about it.
Already, man. TC Gambino.
Check it in, check it out.
Already.
Young Brimmy.
Right.